Hey guys, it's Justin. Before the video starts, I just really quickly want to say thank you. Thank you so much for all the support that you guys are giving me on the channel. We just recently hit over 800,000 views, which is insane. I never, ever in my life thought that amount of people would watch something I made. So thank you so much for all the support, and I love you all. Subscription services have been in the mainstream for a long time. On the surface, it's a cheap and easy way of accessing entertainment, efficient ways to work, and much more. For example, I pay monthly for my editing software, Netflix, and a guitar app that I occasionally have fun with. So with every company having a subscription option, it's a no-brainer that it was eventually going to seep into gaming, right? I mean, it's not like it would be the first time. There are games that you can't even play without a subscription, like Warcraft, and games that you can't enjoy to the full extent without a subscription, like RuneScape. Well, recently there's been a trend of game companies creating their own subscription services. $10 a month for unlimited games from EA with EA Play, Ubisoft with Ubisoft Plus, and a little bit of everything with Xbox Game Pass. There are other options for cloud gaming with services like Google Stadia and GeForce Now. I'm sure most, if not all of you, have heard about the recent backlash Ubisoft has gotten for something the directors said in an interview. But for those who don't know, Philippe Tremblay, director at Ubisoft, said in short that people in the past have gotten comfortable swapping from physical game cartridges and discs to downloading their games from digital stores. So the next step is to get comfortable with subscription services and just get used to not owning your games. Personally, I'd expect a quote like, "get used to not owning your games" from Ubisoft. I mean, they have a history of being a very slimy corporation. They release games that are so mediocre that they have to make cinematic trailers for them to generate hype, because if they show actual footage, they know it won't get sales. And while they do have very good games like Rainbow Six Siege and For Honor that are plagued by microtransactions,
we just need money.
They also have a disgusting single-player market. I'm gonna add that I'm speaking specifically on their more modern titles. I used to play all of the Assassin's Creed games up to Syndicate, and Far Cry 2 is a masterpiece. Single-player, in my opinion, is where developers can show off just how good they can make an art piece. Single-player experiences are for games like Red Dead Redemption 2, Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, Mafia 1 and 2, Skyrim, and Cyberpunk, just to name a few that I really enjoyed. Ubisoft capitalizes off of that market and releases games that require a grind on par with Red Dead Online. Putting a grind in a single-player game to promote microtransactions is not okay. I mean, it really says something about your product when you have to put the idea in your players' heads that yes, you can pay more money to not play the game. Sorry, tangent. Back to what I was talking about. I've already made and edited 2 videos just about this quote, but deleted and never uploaded them just because they weren't very interesting. However, that brought me to a bigger and better question, which is, what is the future of subscription services in video games? Is the day of owning a library officially coming to an end? And this video is going to talk about everything subscription services and why I don't think it's the future. I'll start with this. We need to separate the kind of subscription services that gaming has. Xbox Live, PlayStation Plus, and Nintendo Switch Online are pretty much required if you're going to own a console. Those services are what lets you into most online games, and although I personally am against paying for online, I do understand why the price tag is there. It costs Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo to maintain servers for their players, so really it's not that big of a deal. GeForce Now and Google Stadia are cloud gaming services, meaning that no matter where you are, as long as you're on Wi-Fi, you can play anything you want. I used to have this friend that would use GeForce Now to play PUBG with me. He would travel a lot with his family, and all he had was a controller and a smartphone, and because of the cloud gaming capabilities, he was able to play full games with me, which was kind of funny because the Wi-Fi my family had at the time was so bad that I would cut out more than he would, even though he was the one streaming an online video game. Cloud gaming is also good for people with outdated hardware, so that instead of upgrading, they just have to pay a small price every month. Both of these categories, online play and cloud gaming, are here to stay. I am certain about that. Cloud gaming will only get better with time, and people are always going to want to play with their friends and consoles. Now, Game Pass, EA Play, Ubisoft Plus, GTA Plus. Are these sustainable? There's been a trend in gaming recently where companies are starting their own subscription services so that you can pay monthly to have unlimited access to their games. And while that sounds like a done spanking deal, you really need to remember who you're buying from. EA is not a reputable company, and neither is Ubisoft. Personally, I believe they only started these services as a desperate cash grab because of the failures they've suffered recently. I found this on Reddit posted by u/Casmiller20 showing a poll that reads, "Will you be subscribing to Ubisoft Plus on Xbox?" And only 2% said yes. In the case of Game Pass, I think that's a lot more sustainable because it's a variety and not just one company. I personally believe that streaming services like Game Pass will always be an option, but definitely not the future like Ubisoft wants it to be. Because if this keeps going on with companies starting their own subscription services and God forbid at one point putting exclusive games on there, something similar to the streaming wars is going to happen and it's going to become a mess. Nobody's going to profit from it, and eventually companies are going to have to return to selling their games on Steam or whatever platform it is. Because I'm sure if Ubisoft started making things exclusive for Ubisoft Plus, they would never sell a video game again. Even Rockstar started a subscription service with GTA Plus, but I don't think anybody bought that. If you bought GTA Plus and I dissed you, man, I'm sorry, but why would you pay for that? You get a few bonuses in GTA Online, plus some games for free. But that's the misinformation, because the games aren't free, because you don't own them. I'm gonna get into my main issue with subscription services, and first off, because you don't own the game, no matter how much time and progress you put into a play file, if you stop paying the company monthly, then all of that is gone forever until you can pay them again. They're basically holding your play file hostage. And also, if the entire world went to paying monthly for games, then that would be completely up to the corporation to decide what goes on the service and what doesn't. What if what happened to the GTA trilogy happened on a subscription service? In the case of Steam, they removed the older games in favor of the definitive edition. However, because it was Steam, a lot of players already purchased the original games, so we can still play them and use the files that we had before the purge. If this was a streaming service, we would have no choice but to just accept that all of our progress is now gone because the company removed the games and we can't play them anymore. And streaming services are always removing and adding games due to contracts expiring and other reasons too, like maybe conflict with the developer. So really no game on there is sustainable because at any point it could just get taken down by the company. Now you're probably saying, well, Justin, if the world goes to subscription services one day, why don't we just pirate? And that's a fantastic point. However, I'm sure no game company wants that to happen, and that's why they would never go in the subscription service direction. Even worse, imagine if companies made exclusives for subscription services. That would cause chaos. At least for PC gamers, we'd be able to try and emulate them or use some other way to get access to the games. But for console players, they're basically held hostage. Like, you have to pay for this service to play the game or else you're never playing it in your life. Thankfully, I am almost positive that Ubisoft is wrong and that subscription services are not the future, but if they were, that would probably be the direction it would head in. In conclusion, subscription services are here to stay, but I don't think that they will be the future. And in response to director Philippe Tremblay, I will get comfortable owning my games. No matter how much I like a company and what they put out, I will never buy a subscription service for that. I think paying money for GTA Plus so that I don't have to play GTA, for example, is silly. If I didn't want to play GTA, I just wouldn't buy the game. Personally, I enjoy the grind of GTA Online, but at the same time, I could understand how others could find it tedious, especially if you're crammed on time. Well, guys, what do you think of all this? Do you think that subscription services like Ubisoft Plus are the future, or are you content having your solid library? Let me know in the comments below and I'll respond as soon as I possibly can. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video, and make sure to have a good one.
Goodbye, world.
Guys,